Good afternoon. Welcome to the 330 Sports Show. My name is Justin Coffin, now on screen. Across from me, Joe Danyi. In the back, we got BJ Lisco. So, again, actually kind of a nice day down here in Youngstown, Ohio. It's been about 2 weeks since I have podcasted, so a lot of things have been going on. But April Fool's Day, kind of an overrated thing. Joe and I were talking about that off screen. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's a little bit overrated in my opinion, but so much going on to talk about. Cavs, Guardians, obviously the Browns, the NFL. The NFL draft is less than 4 weeks away now, and just a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm all into a couple of TV shows right now. We'll talk to Joe about some of those as well, and we'll just get after it. So there's going to be a whole bunch to talk about, and let's just start with the Cavs. Let's
make it full screen again.
Okay. Oh, so Joe's not only the co-host here, but he also is like the tech guy. So when things break down or whatever, and we fix it. Okay. All right. So we are good. Back up and good to go. So anyway, since we've been gone, the Cavs had that record-setting franchise winning streak at 16 games. They did proceed then to go on a bit of a slump. They lost 4 in a row, but they are currently sitting at 60-15, which is the only the third time in franchise history that they have won 60 games in a season. Only 7 games left this season, but still, even in a bad month, they've lost no more than 5 games. 10-5 in January, 11-5 in March. Those were the 2 worst months for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Also, as I mentioned, 7 games left. Here's what is left on the docket for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they are off again tonight, and they play again tomorrow night, Wednesday, against the New York Knicks. I saw a beat reporter for the Cavs said they had their first practice at home today since before the All-Star break, which was mid-February. So it's been a while since the Cavs have been at home. So again, Cavs, 7 games left. They hold a 4-game lead on the Boston Celtics for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, which puts their magic number at 5. That means a total of 5 Cavs wins and combination with Boston Celtics losses. So Celtics very well could win out based on their schedule. So if the Cavs can go 5-2 in that 7-game stretch, they can lock down that number 1 seed. And also, since we've been gone, the Cleveland Guardians have started up the Major League season. So they started at the Kansas City Royals, got won 2 of their first 3. Last night, dropped a game against the Padres. They got 2 more games in San Diego and 2 more in LA. So a 9-game road trip to start the season before coming home. Their home opener will be Tuesday, April 8th against the Chicago White Sox. So, a pretty solid ball club. This is a team that is going to lean on their bullpen once again. A good starting rotation, not great, not like in the past where they were dominant, but a great bullpen if they can hold it together. They obviously are led by Jose Ramirez, third baseman, just one of the top, I would say top 7 players in the game for what he does. But for what he brings to this ball club, he's probably top 3 most important players to his team. The outfield, again, Lane Thomas, pretty solid, above average Major League Baseball player. Stephen Kwan out there in left. Right field is more of a platoon situation. Catching, they have guys behind the plate in Bo Naylor and Austin Hedges that are great at calling games, not necessarily great with the bat. So hopefully those 2 can, hold up their end of the bargain. And then, they moved a couple pieces in the offseason. They moved Josh Naylor, and they moved Jimenez. So the right side of their infield is all new this year. But so far this season, Kyle Manzardo has really stepped up. And then, second base looks to be a platoon position for the Guardians, at least until Travis Bazzana is the former number 1 pick of last year is ready to come up for the Guardians. Okay. So that was a real quick look with the Cavs and the Guardians. Now, as we are a Cleveland centric show, often times, we talk about the Browns. So the Browns yesterday,
you're giggling already, like this has got to be good.
So the owners meetings are going on right now somewhere down in Florida, and so all the owners are there, all the coaches are there. I think all, if not most of the GMs are there. So 90 to 100 of the most important people in sports, if not more, are down here in Florida. They converge, and that's where maybe some trades happens, maybe some big franchise moving things can happen. But yesterday, and I want your take before I tell you mine, but yesterday Jimmy Haslam spoke to the media, and he basically took responsibility and full blame for the Deshaun Watson trade. So he said, and I'm going to just, kind of not verbatim, but kind of quote this a little bit. He basically said the trade was a mistake and it was a big swing and a miss. So, the Browns are going to have to dig out from that situation. So before I give you my opinion, what's your take on Jimmy Haslam kind of admitting fault to that trade?
So it was important that the owner of this team say that. And it's everything everybody knew anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
And I can just see the boardroom where Jimmy Haslam says the missing element of this team is having a quarterback, that we take that off of the table. I'm so sick of hearing the quarterback story in the Cleveland Browns. Let's overpay. Let's nail it down so we can move on to other things. Instead of allowing the football people to pick your quarterback, he wanted to use money to be able to take that off of the board.
Yeah.
And he messed up. And so it's a learning experience. And I think he learned a valuable, very expensive freaking lesson.
Yeah.
That let the football people do their thing, stay out of it, go be an owner, and let the natural cycle of recruiting and what the people who know the game would do.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's perfectly well said. And I wrote up my take real quick, but my take is this is a great sign for the Browns. Like, admitting fault, admitting mistakes is a great sign, because if they were too proud and said, we'll see if Deshaun comes back from it. No, it's just like they're pulling the Band-Aid. The great thing about this too is I don't think we're going to see Deshaun Watson in a Cleveland Browns uniform ever again. I think this year he's going to be, completely, he's going to be on the injured reserve, IR, off the team. He recently posted, or the Browns posted, some video of him rehabbing at the team facility. That's all well and good, but if you're bringing in a rookie quarterback or you're bringing in other young guys to compete, you don't want the distraction of Deshaun Watson there. But getting back to Jimmy Haslam, I think this was a huge step, and we give Jimmy Haslam a lot of shit, like the fan base, but to his credit, he spends more money on his football team than any other owner in the National Football League. And maybe that's by his own fault, making some trades, obviously, like the Deshaun Watson signing, giving him a guaranteed $230 million contract. But, at least maybe he's learning lessons from past mistakes. So, like, what's that quote? It's like, those that don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, kind of thing. And it's like, Jimmy Haslam, he's been around the league long enough that maybe he's like, okay, maybe, like you said, let the football people do their thing. Let the money people do their thing. I'll be the owner. I'm going to make a lot of money, and I'm also going to write a lot of checks. And, you guys put this team in the best position to succeed. I love it. So
let me just put it into perspective.
Yeah.
So this is the field goal perspective, or field goal paradox.
Okay.
Right? So the coach calls like a field goal ties the game and a 2-point conversion wins. So the coach elects to do a field extra point wins the game or ties the game. 2-point conversion wins.
Okay.
And so the coach who calls for the 2-point conversion, if it's successful, he's a genius.
Yes.
And if it's not successful, he's a freaking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And that is sort of the paradox, is if Deshaun Watson added stability, won games, took you to the playoffs, that call would have been Jimmy Haslam, genius, great.
Right.
But since it didn't work out, it's like, oh no, let it go down to the football people. There are gambles that happen in the game every stinking day.
Absolutely.
And honestly, judgmental as we are as football fan base, we get to decide whether or not what we would have done in that same perspective would, if sort of like the quarterback position was the cancer of your team, and it seemed like it would disrupt every other position, and it would dominate all of the conversations, and it would be milking all of your money. As an owner, would you not say, let's take that off the table and remove that distraction?
Yes.
And even if gambling is the way that you do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And with Baker, I think the Browns realized they had something in him. Then that injury happened. And then it's kind of felt like he wasn't the same guy. And, to the Browns, credit, to the Browns' defense, I should say, is, Baker was out of the league. Like, a lot of people are like, well, why didn't you just keep on? Like, there weren't teams just handing out contracts to Baker. All 32 teams, including the Browns, could have signed him and re-signed him. And it took a year and a half for him to finally catch back with Tampa. He was on, I believe, the Browns, and then the Panthers, and then 2 other teams, I believe, and then until he landed in Tampa. But like you said, it's like, if that Deshaun Watson trade works, you look so smart.
Heck
but
yeah.
But the thing that is like a double negative for the Browns is it didn't work. And you caught all that bad PR from it too, with all the off the field stuff. It's like, if you could go back and make the deal with the devil or whatever and say like, all right, I'm going to bring on Deshaun Watson, but I know he's going to be good. Like, you can never guarantee that, but that's what think
that's what made it a gamble. That's the only reason Watson was available in that deal, is because he came with all of those, that bad blood and that bad PR and whatever.
Strings attached
for sure.
That. And
how quickly, if he would have been a performer and put that behind him, and he won, playoffs, how quick would the fan base forgive him?
A lot of people are willing to forget when your team is winning. Like all the outside noise, all the distractions, all the failures seem to go away. Past failures, I should say, seem to go away when your team's winning. So winning cures a lot of ills, for 100%. Sure. And the Browns are I want to get your opinion on this too, because the Browns are kind of in an interesting situation right now, where are they trying to win now, or are they trying to rebuild? Because you bring back Myles Garrett, you sign him to a record contract, whereas if you traded him, punted on him, you recoup a lot of assets. You also maybe temporarily are under more financial cap strain for this year, but then that puts you in a better draft position for next year. Or are the Browns trying to just go for it and figure out the pieces? Because right now the quarterback is Kenny Pickett. Jokes aside, small hands aside, whatever you want to say, like Kenny Pickett, former first-round pick 25 and 15 as a starter, I believe. But just wasn't that great in Pittsburgh. But has he been better than Deshaun Watson? Kind of, So I don't know.
The draft will tell us the story. We only have to sort of surmise and take guesses until they do their first-round pick.
Yeah.
And if they go with a quarterback, then it's understood that Kenny Pickett was your backup quarterback from the get-go. If they go edge rusher, then it's a different story, or they get the best person on the board, then it's a different story. Then they're building momentum for future seasons.
I think they're taking a quarterback somewhere near the first round, no matter what, whether it's maybe not at 2, but maybe they trade back in late to the first round or whatever, because I'm going to put up the draft board here, but the Browns have the 2nd overall pick, but they also pick number 33, which is the first pick of the 2nd round. So you could, trade that pick back into the first round, and then maybe, you throw another pick later on down the road. But if you look at this draft board, Tennessee, quarterback needy. They are not going to rely on Will Levis, I don't believe. I think Cam Ward is probably going to Tennessee. I would think Shedeur Sanders is probably the pick for the Browns at 2. We will see. I know the Giants like him, but the Giants also just signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So that's an interesting combination. The Patriots do not need a quarterback. The Jaguars right now do not need a quarterback. The Las Vegas Raiders do need a quarterback. The Jets brought in Justin Fields. So looking at those top 7, actually looking at the top 10 with Tennessee all the way down to Chicago at number 10. Chicago doesn't need a quarterback, but Tennessee does, 1. The Browns do 2. The Giants do 3. Las Vegas does 4. And I would say maybe New Orleans does 5. So 5 of the top 10 teams are quarterback needy. And then you look at the rest of the league, and you'd have to probably go down all the way to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21, who are the next team that really is looking for a quarterback. So if you get past number 10, you could get a really good value, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, whether it's Jackson Dart, whether it's a different quarterback, that maybe a team really likes. That Tyler Shuck is another name I keep hearing that teams like. But again, do we want to get in that frame of mind where we want like a 26-year-old rookie quarterback? I don't know. So there's a lot to be discussed with this draft board, and we have a lot of questions. However, the draft is really fast approaching, so that's kind of what we're looking at right now with the draft. And this is one of those years, it's really weird. No team has 2 first-round picks. Every team owns their own pick this year, which is the first time that's happened in quite a while. So Joe, I believe, and this was a couple weeks ago, but I believe you were on record saying the Brown, this is what you, now correct me, did you want Abdul Carter, or you think the Browns will take Abdul Carter? Which was your thinking on that?
I have 2 hypotheticals. If they really want to gamble on a quarterback, then Shedeur Sanders looks like they're going to be the available pick.
Okay.
Abdul Carter would be the other pathway.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's say the Browns fell in love with Cam Ward. I know the Titans were down at his pro day. I know the Browns were down at his pro day. A lot of other teams were down at his pro day. But let's just say they really like Shedeur Sanders, but they love Cam Ward, hypothetically. To go from 2 to 1, I don't know what that would cost you.
No way.
Would you give up? So you're giving up the 2 for the 1. So you're flip-flopping those picks. And maybe you give up a 3rd-round pick.
Nope.
Would you do that?
100% no.
No.
Nope.
No. Okay.
I don't think you're going to make or break this next season with 1 pick. So
I
whether
agree.
or not you go that way, you give up more personnel and more swap outs. Like to me, this is experimental season, no matter what it is that you do.
I agree with that. But what if Cam Ward, you think, is the future of your franchise? Like let's just say they are dead set.
Listen, the Cleveland Browns picking talent is suspended for the next 4 years.
That's true.
Okay. So you will take volume and quantity over being certain that somebody's going to be a workout. They've got their gambling gene is out of whack. So you take volume. Okay. Don't give up any picks. If they can get 900 picks this draft, take them
for their 53-man roster.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, so Joe just wants a lot of lottery tickets.
Tons of them.
Okay.
Tons of Tom Brady's across the board.
So you want as many 6th-round quarterbacks.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
All right. Let me ask you this, because here's a name I've heard of late that the Browns. So this coming Friday is Colorado's Pro Day. So if the Browns like Shedeur Sanders, he will be there most likely at 2. And if you like him, even if you think he's the 10th best player in this draft, you have to take him, I think.
So do you believe his dad sort of lightened up on whether or not he wanted him to end up at Cleveland? And my big concern was he would create too much drama if he really didn't want his son to end up there.
I agree.
And it seems like that's been retracted a little bit.
Well, I think he probably just wants a son in the best position to succeed.
You can't blame him.
And obviously going to New York, bright lights, that's great. But that also comes with a heavier spotlight, more scrutiny. And, I know the Giants have a really nice, receiver in Malik Neighbors. Browns have Jerry Jeudy. They got David Njoku. They could pick up another wide receiver in the first or second, or probably second round. So it's like they can surround him with some weapons. They also have a fairly stable offensive line when healthy. But I don't know. I think Dion wants his son in the best position.
So do you think, let's just say you're at the combine, you're at any of these places where all of the recruits for the quarterback room, are the Cleveland Browns the butt of every joke?
No, I don't think so.
Reputation wise.
I think in the talking heads media national narrative, that was a thing for a while. But no, I don't think so anymore. I really don't think so. I think Cleveland as a city has a lot going for it. Is it New York? Is it LA? No, but how many places are,
So 2 quotes, the Browns be the Browns.
Yeah.
Right. And where quarterbacks go to die. You can't argue with either of them.
No, but look what, and I'm just talking a recency bias here. Baker Mayfield really did pretty well in the Browns offense when healthy. And that was under Kevin Stefanski. Joe Flacco came in and thrived, but it seems like the quarterback that doesn't have success in Stefanski's system is Watson. And even look at Jameis Winston last year. Outside of the interceptions, which there were a lot of, he threw for a ton of yards with hardly any running game. So I don't know. I think Shedeur Sanders is a really solid pocket passer, good accuracy, is smarter than people probably give him credit for. I don't think he's quite the athlete that Cam Ward is. Cam Ward is more of the, gunslinger type, whether you want to compare him to a Brett Favre or maybe even a Deshaun Watson of former of the Houston Deshaun Watson. So I don't.
If you had to pick between those two, which would you go?
Well, I would just go based on what scouts seem to say, that Cam Ward has the higher upside, and I would always take the guy with the higher ceiling. Even if they has a lower floor, I think I take the higher ceiling, because it all comes down to quarterback no matter what in the NFL. If the Browns had they had the number 1 defense in the NFL, right? 2 years ago. And, they won all those games with all those different starting quarterbacks, but where did it get them? It got them a first round exit in the playoffs. If you had Patrick Mahomes to that team, if you had Josh Allen to that team, if you had, Joe Burrow to that team, whatever it might be, you have when you have a quarterback, you have a chance, is kind of what I'm saying.
But you have to have an offensive line to be able to make sure they don't get dead.
Joe Burrow doesn't have much of an offensive line.
But although he struggled in consistencies over the last 2 years.
And he's also been injured because
you kill the quarterback, right. That's a bad thing.
So no, you're not wrong. You need, and football is truly the biggest team sport where you need all 11 guys on the same page.
And how many of our offensive line were first-year starters that weren't, fill-ins from like the bench squad?
All I care about is Jed Wills will not be back. Jed Wills. Jack Conklin's
good.
He's healthy is good. If you can get DeJuan Jones staying healthy, and if you can get whoever else you plug in there, Joel Bitonio's coming back. You got Teller still there. Hopefully the center position was kind of a rotating thing last year.
So if we spent a lot of our draft capital on building that offensive line and we didn't go heavy on adding another edge, no more linebackers or whatever, which would mean that our defense would be very similar to last year. Would you be okay with last year's version of it but an improved offense?
I think in the NFL you have to score points. I think, I don't know how many points the Browns scored per game last year, but it wasn't very many. And if you look at teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's like, that's what's holding that team back. Like, the defense was okay. They kind of struggled towards the end of the season, but their defense kept them in so many games and they won so many grinded out games. But that is not the recipe for success, throughout the season. I think you have to be able to, and there's always the old adage, yes, defense wins championships. And I don't disagree with that, but you also have to put up points.
A dead quarterback really works against your point scoring.
Yeah, you don't want to be snapping the ball.
Yeah, like Bobby Boucher's playing right tackle, and he was, on the practice squad last year kind of thing. That's a bad thing.
That would not be a good thing.
No.
Well, then just give him some good water. You might be okay. So the one other player I do want to talk about, we haven't spent much time on, is Travis Hunter. He is the corner / wide receiver. He won the Heisman Trophy last year. And I don't know. I think the Browns think of him as a wide receiver. I don't know what other teams around the league think of him, but obviously he played 90% of the snaps for Colorado last year at wide receiver and corner. So if you, Joe, are picking for whether it's the Browns or whether it's the Patriots or the Titans or whoever, and you have a chance to take Travis Hunter, and I know you don't follow college football a ton, but the dude is awesome on both sides of the ball. But is he the best corner in this draft? Probably. Is he the best wide receiver in this draft? I don't think so. Maybe, but we haven't seen him just exclusively play one position. And at the NFL, you're not going to be able to play full time on both. It's just not doable. But if you are drafting for Team X, are you drafting him as a corner and maybe letting him play a little bit of wide receiver in some packages? Or are you drafting him as a wide receiver and maybe play a little bit of defense? What would you do?
Yeah, it's a commodity question. So which is in shortest supply?
Yes.
And I think talented corners are harder to find than wide receivers. I think they're a dime a dozen.
I agree with that. Andrew Berry actually said they see him as a wide receiver, which makes me pump the brakes a little bit and say, I would take him as a corner and let him play a little bit because on defense, it's you can play it. Defensive backs really don't sub in and sub out like the D line does, like linebackers do. If you're a good corner, you're on the field the entire game. So it's I want the best athlete playing as many snaps as possible.
Dedicated.
So yeah, I would put him out there, put him across from Denzel Ward, hypothetically. You got your lockdown corner, and then you could put him in as a third or fourth wide receiver. And he could make some play, make some impact in the game on offense, maybe playing 10, 12 snaps a game. Whereas if you play him at wide receiver exclusively, it's a little bit tougher, I think, to throw him in at corner. Just my opinion. But if I'm taking him as a defensive back. But, again, they're probably going to have talks on that and say, what do you want to play? And I'm sure he's going to say, I want to do both full time. Yeah, but you can't.
And honestly, I've seen a couple of those mock drafts where he was taken like first round as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And, if I'm picking for the Browns, like no way in hell that's even a first round consideration.
I think the Browns do need a wide receiver, but you can't. I don't know. You can't. For me, it's like the Browns need to. It's either going to be Abdul Carter, in my opinion. It's going to be a quarterback option 1, Abdul Carter number 2, or a trade back number 3. Those are my.
I'm with you, except for the trade back. I don't think that happens.
You don't think it happens?
I do not think it happens.
And we'll get there. We'll see what happens in about 3.5 weeks from now. But we are inching closer to the draft day by day.
Cam Ward is still my favorite in it, so I think it looks more likely that Shedeur Sanders is going to be the pick. But Cam Ward, hopefully that he's still available at pick 2.
If the Titans and somebody could trade up and want Cam Ward or want Shedeur Sanders, but we will see as the world turns. But that's kind of where we see things right now.
And honestly, the draft strategy is one thing about the Browns element that I feel they do have a pretty good. They're pretty locked in on selecting. Yeah, they've had some misses along the way, but they've had some great additions along the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes, defensive back for the Browns have been very strong. They could definitely improve at the wide receiver position. I think this should be a very offensive heavy draft, in my opinion.
I agree.
You need a wide receiver. You need a tight end. You definitely need running backs. You need a quarterback. So there's a lot on offense. Like, I think the defensive side of the ball is pretty solid. It's not great at every level, but it's pretty solid.
So if they used early rounds to add an edge rusher or a cornerback, would you be disappointed?
No. Like if you came out of this with Abdul Carter at number 2, and maybe you take the best defender available at 33, I would say I wish they would have went offense, but I can understand it. But at the same time, that's not going to fix your offensive woes going into.
Do you think ever, like, the fan base dictates a lot? Like, when you sell tickets, they want to see you being a contender, or at least hanging in there, making an exciting game. So almost like they almost feel obligated to add some offense to this just for building a new facility and having this fans engaged.
Yeah, and I saw something where this Jimmy Haslam quote yesterday was good for a couple reasons. Because public money to build that new stadium, I believe the last drop dead date they can get public money for that is June 30th. So they want as much goodwill going into that date as possible, because the renderings of that facility are amazing. And for those people that want it in downtown Cleveland, I agree. I want it in downtown Cleveland, but I want a roof on it. I understand, AFC North football toughness in the cold, the Browns Steelers Snow Bowl game from last year. That was awesome. But give me a roof. Give me an awesome facility that can be used year round, not just for football, but for concerts, for venues, for conventions, for Final Fours, whatever it might be. Give me that venue all year round. And I think that's another thing where Haslams do see the bigger picture. Of, hey, we want to generate revenue. We want to bring in money. We also want to make our football team the most competitive. But I think, from here to whenever that stadium opens, 2028, 2029, there's not going to be many players on this Browns team going into that stadium. Maybe Myles Garrett, if he's still around towards the end of his career, or maybe Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward are there, and they're getting into the prime of their career then as well.
I'll make a prediction. By June, the Browns will be undefeated. 100% chance.
I agree with you.
100% chance.
You want to bet on
Lock it.
That's our lock of the day. Browns will be undefeated in June. I love it. Okay, so let's switch to the Final Four really quick. All four top seeds made it to the Final Four this year. How many times has that happened before? Take a guess. In 40 years. How many times?
6.
It has happened one other time.
Holy
crap. Just once. So this is only the second time in the 40-year tournament history that all number 1 seeds have made it. The other time was 2008, but we have Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Houston, all number 1 seeds playing this coming Saturday in the Final Four.
The names are different. I love that.
Well, Duke is the only one outside of Duke.
Yeah, it's not North Carolina.
Florida had a great run.
Gonzaga's a disappointment.
Gonzaga, they have made so many tournaments. I think Gonzaga ended up losing to Houston in the second round, and they had like a crazy Sweet 16 streak that ended this year. though. So Gonzaga is always one of those. They're like one of those teams, though, you can always count on to be there, but to get, to punch the final ticket, to raise the banner, they just haven't.
Well, see, that sucks for fans like me, because I want to buy into the Cinderella season, the people that shouldn't be there. I want to buy into it. And the Final Four is not a place to look for that.
Well, not this year, especially with all number one seeds. So, but those games tip off this weekend. The four coaches, and I will say personally, I love Bruce Pearl. I've met him probably 8 times, and he is an awesome dude. He has a great heart. He's a good basketball coach, but none of these 4 head coaches, Calvin Sampson at Houston, Bruce Pearl at Auburn, Todd Golden at Florida, or John Shire at Duke, have a championship. So this will be one of their first, one of these coaches are guaranteed a title. John Shire did win as a player on Duke back in 2010. So one of these coaches are guaranteed to win their first title, much like in college football this past year with Ryan Day going against Marcus Freeman in college football. Did you know Cooper Flagg? This is a really cool thing. Cooper Flagg is the consensus best player in college basketball. But did you know Cooper Flagg, he's probably going to be the number one, not probably, he will be the number 1 pick in this coming NBA draft. He will be only the 3rd player in NCAA history to lead his team to the Final Four, as well as lead his team in points, assists, and rebounds. The only other 2 players to do that, Jerry Stackhouse with North Carolina and Larry freaking Bird with Indiana State way back in, I think that was like 1978. So Cooper Flagg punching his ticket as an absolute legend, although he will probably only be playing, this one season. And then, I don't know, maybe playing with the Washington Wizards or one of those teams next year that are towards the bottom of the NBA draft. Let's see, Joe Midlick. Vegas odds, real quick, have the Browns over on 4.5. 4.5 is the over-under for the Cleveland Browns. Slam that over. I bet that's heavily juiced. That's got to be like minus 140, minus 150. If it's 4.5 is the over-under. I would slam the over on that. Maybe not much over, but I think the Browns are like, they had so much go wrong with them last year. They only won 3 games, but it's like, could you have found 2 games last year the Browns could have easily won? Oh yeah, like the Raiders game. There was like, slam that over.
Pre-draft, like, there's not enough information to even establish those numbers.
No, I agree.
I'm not trusting.
Like, it's so hard to bet. It's April 1st. That's no joke, but it is so hard to bet over-unders this time of year. So like Joe said, wait till maybe after unless something is glaring. If something is looking at you and like taunting you to bet it, maybe you throw some money at that. But
end of April, we're like, oh, we got Brandon Whedon. Then all of that comes unglued.
Mm-hmm. Joe is not a Tyler Shuck guy. Remember I told you about Tyler Shuck? He is the 26-year-old coming in rookie from Louisville, but started his career. He was actually the backup for Justin Herbert at Oregon. That's how long he's been around. So
I'm not a fan of the aged red shirt quarterbacks that are 17 years into their career.
So if I gave you the option of Deshaun Watson coming off an injury at age 31 in his last year of his contract versus Tyler Shuck in the second year being the starter, making a rookie minimum, who are you taking there?
Dude, I would take you over Deshaun Watson, and I don't even know how you can throw the ball.
Oh, I can throw the ball. Not an NFL quarterback.
I am taking Justin over Deshaun Watson.
Give me whoever YSU quarterback is next season over Deshaun Watson as well. So
yeah, fill in the name, make it a blank space, and they got my vote.
Yes, agree. Here are the numbers and odds for the final 4 games this weekend, and I put my picks out there. So you got Auburn and Florida, an SEC matchup. Florida's a 2.5-point favorite. Look at that over under 160.5. That's pretty high for a college basketball game. But I'm going to take Auburn with the plus 2.5 and take the under in that matchup. I'm also going to take the Duke money line. I don't have a good feeling spread wise on this game, but these are 2 of the top 5 defenses in college basketball. So I'm going to take Duke to win and take the under 136.5.
Really?
Yeah. That's a low total there. 136.5. So what are we looking at? Like that's like a 70 to 65 type game. So I'm going to take Duke to win, but take the under, even though that's a very low total. That's my picks, and I'm rolling with it. And I haven't bet them yet, but I might throw a little bit of funny money at that. You know, why not?
What would you bet? $20, $50, $100?
Oh, it depends. You know, like probably 20, 25 bucks.
$20?
Yeah. So
safe.
Like everybody like respectfully has their own unit what that's worth. For some people that might be $10. For some people that might be $1,000, you know, depending on your means. But like I'm someone that just bets for fun and hopefully wins a little bit. This is funny you brought this up because I looked at my FanDuel account, and I'm not going to say how much I have gambled, but it's
significant.
It's over 30,000, but I've won $400 total in my career, more than I've gambled. So it was like something. So I just said I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to tell you.
You totally told us.
So it was like 38,000. Let's just make 38.
It was 30 a minute ago. Now it's 30.
No, it's in the mid 30s. So it was like 36.
Do I hear 40?
No,
40,
it was
40,
not. It was not to 40. It was in the 30s. So I'm just going to make it 36. Let's just say 36,400 is what I gambled. 36,800 is what I made. So I was still in the green. I was like plus 800 for my career, and that's just on my FanDuel. My other ones I don't use too often, but I am a plus gambler in my career.
Do you have a in-person like Gino takes your bets, or
no?
Is it all
no,
just digital?
No. I never placed a bet outside of Las Vegas in my life until gambling became legal in Ohio. So
Gino lives like 2 blocks from here. If you'd like to place a bet,
well, in Youngstown, I bet you could find a few Ginos.
Gino is straight
not
up.
Just Youngstown. I don't want to single Youngstown out, but in many communities around America, you can find those Ginos, and they will gladly take your money because most of the time you're not coming out on top. So I will say, you know, I've got lucky on a few parlays and stuff. Here's a wild stat, and I should have typed this up, but wild stat. So 50 I'm sorry, let me make sure I get this right. 56% of all books winnings are on parlays, and only 27% of the money taken in is on parlays. So that will tell you, if you bet parlays in the long run, you are going to lose. A lot of people call them sucker bets. I personally like parlays because I think they're fun. And if you throw a little bit of money on it,
$3 here and there, like
I'm talking like 10, 20, $25, because if you hit a plus 400, you throw down 25, you're getting back 125. To me, that's fun. But if you have to understand, you can only gamble what you can afford to lose or what you're willing to lose.
All right. So are you more willing during the Final Four? Like you have just.
I actually haven't placed a bet in about 3 weeks. So I have not bet during March Madness.
Block pool or individual games?
Well, I mean, I've done I've done my my brackets, so I've done that, but I have not done any individual games. However, if I was to bet, that's what I would bet this weekend. I would bet Auburn plus 2.5 and the under, and Duke money line and the under. But I have not placed a bet myself.
The golden rule is that anybody who has a positive integer after betting. Yeah. Like you bet the same way that they do. So you got to tell us what you bet.
And there's something in many people out there will know this, but there's something called fade the public. So what that means is anytime 60% or more of the public money is on a certain team, you bet the other way, because the public is most of the time wrong. Last year in the NFL was the first time the public, I think it was 2 years ago, so I think it was a 2023 season, the public hit 53% versus 47% loss. And that was the first time there was a public winning season. But almost all the time, if you see a 60, now the public's going to be right sometimes.
All right, so
you got to pick and choose.
Where's Auburn situated itself on the 60-40 bet?
You know what? I have not seen any of the handles.
Well, I'm going to go to Poly Market right
now. Joe's
now.
going to find the handles on that. But I just trust my gut and I live with it. A lot of times, like I like to look at trends and things like that. But let's see where the money is flowing for Florida and Auburn. So I'm going to guess most of the money is on Florida because Florida is a trendy pick. And they are, they're kind of like, Florida's like a sexier name than Auburn when it comes to college basketball, but we'll see where that goes. Like right now, Joe is scouring the internet for public trends. So public money.
Duke, Florida.
I don't even know what this is. What is this site?
Poly Market.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not.
So it looks like Duke is your favorite by 48%.
Yeah, Duke would be the favorite.
Florida, Houston,
yeah,
Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn. So whoever's playing, I would actually think Houston would be the bottom to me. So, but they're pretty close.
1% difference.
Yeah. So basically, the public thinks Duke and Florida are playing in the title.
So you would choose Florida, Houston, Auburn over Duke any day?
No, I'm taking in this. That's where I might go away from that trend. I'm just saying, Duke to me, minus 5.5 versus Houston. I'm taking the money line. I'm not necessarily taking. I'm not taking the. I'm not laying the 5.5 with Duke. So, because I don't know. This tournament, there hasn't been a ton of buzzer beaters. There's been a lot of chalk, but there's a lot of money to be made out there. But by the way, this is an interesting stat. Guess how much money has been bet on the NCAA tournament this year, or expected approximately to be in dollars? $3.1 billion is expected to be gambled on this year's tournament. Just the NCAA tournament. That's not including the women's. That's not including the NIT or the CBI or whatever it is. So just 3.1 million on those 72 teams that were in the tournament this year. Pretty wild stuff. I guess it would be 68. It's going to eventually go to 72. So, so Joe, I gave you my picks. Who are you picking? Are you going Florida? And even if you don't follow this is actually more entertaining if you don't follow it. Florida -2.5. They're a high tempo up, or high scoring up tempo team. Auburn is also, high scoring up tempo. But Florida's got, a little bit better guard play. Auburn might, I don't know. It's a tough one. They're both from the SEC conference. Duke has by far been the most dominant team in college basketball, and Houston, a great defensive team. But so is Duke. So what say you on these picks? Auburn versus Florida and Duke versus Houston.
$100 on Duke
to cover the 5.5.
Yes.
Okay. So Joe likes Duke -5.5. So Joe likes Duke by 6 or more. Looking at that over under 136.5. I'm on the under, or I'm going to be on the under. I haven't bet it yet. What's your say on
which
that?
One?
On 136.5, Duke and Houston.
Under.
You're going under too.
Yeah, I'm going under.
So Joe and I both think this is a low scoring game. So 136, what do we say? That'd be like 71-66, something like that.
That's such a good set.
So, or 70-65, like that is a very low total for those two teams. So we will see. All right. Also another note for the NCAA tournament, no team on the western side of like the midway point of the United States has won a title since like 1997.
F the West Coast.
Yeah. Whatever.
F them.
Except for Gonzaga, right?
Except for Gonzaga.
I told you about the 3.1 billion. Now, okay. This is kind of a big issue. Now, especially here locally, Youngstown State men's basketball team. They got within one win of the NCAA tournament. They lost to, they beat Cleveland State. Who'd they lose to? I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But Youngstown State made it to one win to get to the tournament. And since then, 8 of their top players have entered the transfer portal. Also, Indiana Hoosiers, who were a bubble team this year. They were a good team, not a great team, not a bad team, just kind of a middling team. But the Indiana Hoosiers at one point last week had 0 players on their roster based on guys that are going to graduate out of time and who have entered the portal. 0 players. So, transfer portal. Is the transfer portal good, bad, or need some adjustments? And, there's some, need some tweaks. What do you say?
Timing. Like, I think the transfer portal should be limited to off season.
I agree. I mean, that's a really simple answer, but that's a really smart answer. Like, they should, not now. Those teams, technically, people might push back and say those teams are in their off season. Now, I would say wait till everyone is in their off season. Same thing with college football. That's a huge deal for college football too. But having like the Indiana Hoosiers right now, and maybe they brought in some transfer guys since I last looked at this, but having no players in your entire program. You got the guys that are exiting that are still there, but like they're graduating or they're gone in the next month or two. They're not going to play for you in the future is the point. And then YSU, who was a really good up and coming team who ended up, just falling short of their conference title. And then they lose their best 8 guys. They're just gone. So you got to go out and re-recruit your whole roster. And the thing that sucks for a team like YSU or a mid-major is if you bring in a really good high school player and maybe they were under recruited, maybe in Ohio State or in Indiana or a Maryland or a Michigan or whatever team you want to say, comes in and just like plucks your guy off your roster because of NIL or because of, they just want to play at a higher level, whatever that might be. Like, that sucks for a team like YSU. And, YSU can do that, the same thing from a team like, maybe like a guy that played at Kentucky. That's probably a bad example. Like, played at a team like Pitt, who was like maybe over recruited, thought he should be playing more, not getting much playing time, and he comes down a level. So I get it to a point, but it's like, to me, the transfer portal has become this thing that is this really bad situation for college sports in general.
So Justin Coffin, the coach,
yes.
Like, your game planning, you have a whole team, and you're game planning for that team. Yeah. And you have the portal that basically disrupts everything that you have planned.
Yeah.
Meaning that anybody can pass in and out during a season, no matter where they want to go. You've got incoming and outgoing. Like, how tough is it to put together a game plan when your complete roster is arbitrary?
So you're not only recruiting high school kids to come to your program, you're also trying to re-recruit the same guys that are already on your roster, and also maybe try to go snag one guy. So it's a never-ending recruiting cycle for these coaches, because you're recruiting your own guys on your own team. You're recruiting high school guys for the future, but maybe you're also recruiting from another team to pluck guys on your own roster, and you're fearful of other teams doing the same thing. So there has to be some sort of litigation or some sort of like rules put in place by the NCAA, because
what would be fair to the players, because it's very heavy to the player side of things, because they can move around depending on how people are doing and performance wise.
I think it should be a contract of some sort, and whether that means like, if you sign up, and it used to be, if you signed up, like, you got like
for the year,
and you got like you could transfer, but if you transferred, you had to sit out a full year. I don't agree with that, because you're losing a year of your possible prime or whatever. But what I do think is guys should be able to transfer if your coach leaves, if maybe the top recruiter that recruited you, maybe if we're talking football, if it's like your offensive coordinator and you're a wide receiver or a running back or any position really on the offensive side of the ball leaves, you should be able to transfer too.
Especially if you're underutilized. If you're on the bench and like you're not even being on the offensive defense, you should be able to enter that portal mid-season.
What I would say though is I think they should make it a one-time transfer without penalty rule. Now, that one-time transfer means, like, you really want to think about this, because if you're a freshman and you're going into your sophomore year and maybe you didn't play much as a freshman and you're like, I think I could play for team X, somewhere else, but you go to your sophomore year and maybe see like, okay, now I'm not playing very much. Then you want to transfer out. You shouldn't be able to just jump from team to team to team to team every year. I don't like that. I don't like that other teams are buying players with NIL money either, because then it's turning into free agency, which is a whole other, it's just like a wild west of craziness in NCAA sports.
Well, everything they warned us about NIL is coming to fruition through this.
And I think NIL in and of itself is a good thing, but there's no regulation on it. There's none. And there really needs to be some control and some, whether it's a commissioner or whether it's, someone that rules on these transfers, there has to be something, because the NCAA is not doing a good job with handling the transfer portal and NIL and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's a problem and it needs to be dealt with. So I'm going to change gears, and we got about 12 minutes to go. So there was one Browns note that crossed over with a popular TV show that I really like. So we've talked about Severance on this show. And on Severance, there's a company called Lumen. And Lumen is controlled by this guy named Keir, at least in the past. And Keir had these four tempers. And the four
spoilers.
No, there's no spoilers on this, but the four tempers really reminded me of being a Browns fan. And I created this graphic, so I'm taking full acceptance responsibility of this graphic. I loved it. So I went and looked at the four tempers of Keir, and the four tempers were woe, dread, malice, and frolic. So I think as Browns fans, we can all relate to these four tempers of Keir. Woe, great sorrow or distress. I mean, who cannot relate to that as a Browns fan? Dread, fear or apprehension, like heading into your Sunday morning, heading into 1 o'clock. I think we all have a little fear or apprehension of what's going to happen. Malice, the intention or desire to do evil. That usually comes about 4 p.m. on Sunday, or anywhere in between 1 and 4 p.m. And then frolic, cheerful, merry, playful. That's usually heading into the draft or free agency, or like having some hope going into a Browns season. So that's where the frolic comes in. But I think we can all, as Browns fans, relate to Severance in the sense of woe, dread, malice, and frolic.
Three of the four, at least.
Three of the four. Frolic is more, we get a few of those from time to time. I thought that was a fun little crossover to do here. All right, let's go to news and notes real quick, kind of like bust through these. So in the first week of baseball, the baseball season, there's been a hot topic, and they've been called torpedo bats. I don't know if you've heard about it or not, but the Yankees are one of the teams that have been like primarily using these. So the Yankees, through 3 games, their first 3 games, hit 15 home runs and scored 36 runs in their first 3 games. Now, here's the difference, and anyone listening on podcasts in the future might not be able to see this, but the bats, basically they've engineered the bats, and they're within Major League Baseball regulation, but they basically put they made the fat part of the bat fatter. Kind of like, when you're a little kid and you go in the backyard and you got the kind of that wiffle ball bat, and it's got the huge barrel and the skinny handle. That's kind of what it's been like. So what say you on these torpedo bats? Now, apparently they're totally legal, and there's players around the league. They're listed on there. Ellie De La Cruz, Adley Rutschman, Jose Trevino, Dansby Swanson, a whole list of other guys that have been using them. But the Yankees obviously are the premier franchise, Yankees and Dodgers, and Yankees are using a lot of these, and they've been hitting a lot of home runs. Now, they do play in a tiny stadium, in my opinion, but looking at those bats, bottom left of that picture, you can see the difference in the size. And they researched a couple players last year, and to me, this is just smart baseball. It's like, if you can figure out a way to make a tool you use better, why not do that? So as long as they don't outlaw these, I think you're going to see more and more teams go to this bat. And I think they're just maybe leading the charge with engineering on this. What say you?
There is nothing stopping from other teams from adopting it.
No, nothing at all.
It's not expensive. It's not something that is out of reach for other teams. Advancement in the game is on limits.
Now I'm sure they put some research and money into analyzing that, but to actually make a bat, it doesn't cost very much. We're probably talking like $40-50 at most to make a decent bat. So because they're all wooden bats. So I don't know. I think if you come up with a mold you like and you rock it, and why not? So
the memes have been amazing on this though, like where the outfielders with the glove that's like 6 foot in diameter, like those are the best.
Yes. And there's I mean, this wouldn't go along with that, but there's a couple companies that make those huge hats that people wear. Those have become very popular the last few years. But I mean, you know, I would just call the Yankees, as much as I don't like the Yankees, they're just smart. It's smart baseball. So why not? So other teams need to adopt
honestly, like I was in racing forever. And as soon as you have the rule book, you find gray areas to be able to get advantage.
Yeah, you've always said that. You attack the gray area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if this is a gray area where it's a legal bat, it's on limits.
Yeah, I agree. University of Michigan. As much fun as we have with them. And believe me, I have heard that the NCAA ruling is coming in April. I don't know if that's still true or not, but that's for the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. I have heard the ruling will come in April. I don't know if that's true or not because the NCAA does its own thing. But this is another scandal rocking the Michigan football program. So 2 alleged victims of Matthew Weiss, who is a former co-offensive coordinator for Michigan, are suing him and, in a civil suit. But he apparently had access to student files across the country. I don't know how he got access to this. We'll have to find out. And I'm sure it's available. I didn't look into it a ton, but he had access to over 150,000 students through 100 colleges, and 33 of them were student athletes. And these were women mostly, and they had access to their phone pictures and things like that. So this guy is probably going to do some time here, and hopefully he does. Hopefully he does.
F. Harbaugh.
F. Weiss, F. Harbaugh, F. Stallions, F. them all. No bias here, wearing my Ohio State bias shirt here. Okay. This girl, remember the Meet Me Outside? How about that, girl?
Catch Me Outside.
Catch Me Outside. So I'm actually borrowed this from the MLO Bros. They said, what high school in your area would she be attending? Now, I'm going back to my days in high school, and this girl would have totally been an Austintown Fitch Falcon or a Struthers Wildcat. She's got that. She's kind of cute, but also a little trashy with a rough personality. Joe, what say you? You went to Girard, didn't you? I was a Boardman guy.
Yeah. So our feelings were, that's a champion girl.
Champion. Okay.
Champion.
Okay.
Either a champion. There's 2 options here. There's champion or there's East High.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let us know out there. How about that? Where she would have went to.
Catch Me Outside.
Now, if you're in the Akron area,
you know what's amazing about that? That was every bit of a decade ago, and it's still
relevant. That's a great.
100%.
She's still a great meme. She is still a great meme.
What's she doing today? Like,
that's a good question. I don't know.
What's her name?
I'm
gonna find out.
Look that up. But this is, I believe, from Cleveland this past weekend, and I don't know if I will not knock any people based on their religion. Wait, Bad Barbie?
Is her name really Bad Barbie?
I don't think it is. Unless she changed it to that. It was not Bad Barbie.
No, that's Bad Barbie.
Yeah. Yeah, Bad Barbie's a rapper, I believe. I don't know what her Danielle Bregoli.
Is that what you found?
Right here. Bottom. Danielle Bregoli, I think is her real name. So, but Bregoli, totally Youngstown girl though, too, with that Italian name. And yeah. Oh, it says Bad Barbie. Maybe that is her.
No way.
No, 22 years. No, I don't know. Anyway, now we're totally looking like freaking boomers. Look, researching this online. Maybe it is. I don't know. It could be her. Could she have been 15 there And that was 7-8 years ago. So yeah, because it says she's 22. So I don't know. Either way,
if her name is Bad Barbie, dude,
I think that's her. Yeah, right there. Dr. Phil appearance, 2016-17. So
let's fast forward to what she's doing now.
So what is she doing now?
OnlyFans. OnlyFans, 1 million in revenue in the first 6 hours.
So she's doing well for herself. Good for her.
She is.
Good for her. That's a bad Barbie right there.
Bad music.
She's a bad bitch. BHAD. BHAD. All right. Yeah, so she's bad. Talented. So she's doing well for herself. Good for her. So Joe's saying she's from Champion or East High. I'm saying she's went to Fitch or Struthers in my day. So bad Barbie. How about this guy that was interviewed? Jehovah Jones, and he was a witness. I saw that. I think that was in Cleveland too, because I see 19 News. So I'm pretty sure that was in Cleveland. Over the past couple weeks, that is just like great placement and lack of editing there. So that is well done. I don't know if you saw earlier this week, the Pistons Timberwolves game got way out of control. There were 7 guys ejaculated in that game. So way out of hand, or maybe way in hand. I don't know, depending on how you do it.
Well done.
So 7, including our former Cavs coach JB Bickerstaff on that list. So
totally ejaculated.
That got really, really wild. This is a slippery slope there. P. Diddy would have been proud to be at that game. All right. I'm going to do one other note. Now, have you watched White Lotus?
No.
Okay. Now, this will just be for White Lotus fans anyway, because that we are 7 episodes of 8 episodes through the season. So we've just completed the penultimate episode. I love that word, which is the pre-Eve episode to the final episode. So now I put these odds after episode 3. Usually White Lotus is a little bit of a mystery box show that one person dies usually at the end of each season. So this was after 3 episodes, and I would still think mostly these odds are probably accurate still. So Guy Talk at +150. Now this is who will not make it through the end of the final episode. Guy Talk 150, Rick +250. That means you got to lay $100 to win 150 on Guy Talk. You got to lay $100 on Rick to win 250. Timothy Ratliff +300. Gary +350. By the way, Greg, if you watch Napoleon Dynamite, he was Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite. He used to be able to throw a football over those mountains. Saxon is actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. He is +400 in my odds. Piper, the daughter of the Ratliff family, +500, even though she's trying to become a Buddhist. Chelsea +600. She's my favorite character on the show this season, +600. Valentine, Mook, by the way, I don't follow K-pop, but she is a huge K-pop star. But she is an important character on this season. Belinda +800. Kate, played by Leslie Bibb, at 850. Lachlan, 875. Victoria, who is played by Parker Posey. What a great name. Chloe +1000, or any other character +1200 to make it through the finale of the season. Now that to not make it through the finale of the season. So that is my odds for the White Lotus, who will not make it through. Now, I think every character is on the board, but I think Guy Talk, Rick, Tim, and Greg are by far the most likely to not make it through this season. So that is a look at that. I think the show, if you have not watched it, is excellent. Joe, I just started watching last night. It's called Adolescence. It's on Netflix. It's only 4 parts, but The first episode was wild. It was awesome. But the crazy thing about that show, this might be added to my list here. They do not cut. It is one take the whole way through, and the camera is constantly moving. It is wild. So I'm, like I said, 1 of 4 in. Highly recommend 1 of 1. Just knowing that camera, there are no takes. It is all one cut all the way through. Is wild stuff. So
what's your batting average with me?
Oh, well, you said before it's 1,000. I think I've
1.000.
I have, in my opinion, not all my shows. Like, I like Cobra Kai. It was so bad it's good. Like, most people, like some people that like Karate Kid would like that, but there are some. I don't throw all winners out there, but I like to think I throw some good ones out there. For me
personally, you are the barometer of what things are interesting.
So keep in mind the show Adolescence. It's out on Netflix right now. You can watch all 4 parts. It is, like I said, I'm only 1 episode of 4 in, but it is highly intriguing.
Have you watched anything with The Morning Show? Reese Witherspoon.
I watched the first. I watched the first 2 seasons and I lost interest. We get a phone call. So okay, well, we'll go to voicemail.
I am with you on that. Like, I was really following it. I think the drama was great, and then they went super woke, super political, super like partisan.
It lost me. I lost interest in Yellow Jackets too, and some people still really like it, but I have not. There's only so much time where you can watch so many shows, so I lost interest in Yellow Jackets too. But
do they girls kissing girls? Does that happen ever?
It happens in the show. Yeah, it happens
a couple times.
Oh yeah, throughout the season. But if you're into that thing, you might still like it. But the plot started to deteriorate for me.
It was very thin on plot.
Yes, but White Lotus, hell yes. Severance, hell yes.
Adolescence, maybe.
Adolescence, I think a yes. Just like I'm 25% through, but just the fact that they've done it one take through the whole show.
That's interesting.
That is unbelievable to me. Like, think about like even just BSing with whoever. It's like sometimes you stumble over your words. Sometimes you make a mistake. Somebody trips in the background or whatever. It's like, no, they did this all one take, all one, so that's pretty amazing to me. So keep that show in mind.
You recommended, I've watched, and I've been thoroughly impressed with your input. So
if you got time, now that Severance is over.
I wonder why White Lotus is something that I've been avoiding.
So the thing about White Lotus is it's a lot of rich white people on vacation, but a lot of times they're going at each other, and it's entertaining. It's a little bit of a mystery box show, and there are really good characters in it. And that's what makes you that's what hooks me. Like, all right,
so let me get your take on something.
Yeah.
So you seem like you're a traditionalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have like the Lion King and Mufasa, where they stick to the storyline, and then you have Snow White, who goes completely woke.
I have not seen it yet, so I can't.
Changes the story. How do you feel about Disney changing the original?
So if I'm ranking like the animated cartoons that I've seen, Snow White is actually towards the bottom, because I think it came out in like 1936 or something like that. It was the early 30s. But like the woman who did Snow White's voice, worst voice I've ever heard for a Disney singer, especially, but terrible. But I have not seen the new one, so I cannot comment on it. But I know its reviews have been terrible. So
1.6 on the scale of 1 to 10.
So why? What? And I don't care. I it's not like it's going to ruin the movie for me. But like, what woke elements or what plot points did they change? The little people like 7 feet tall now?
So we buy into the storyline, and when I watch The Lion King, I know what to expect. I know the characters, I know the songs, and when you like do it in a version better where it fits up with your imagination, completely complicit in what your brain concocted.
Sure.
Snow White was like, hey, you know what? What you liked was wrong. And let me fill in all these different portions of it that were wrong about it. And so, like, it was just a bastardization of what you loved about the original tale.
So Joe, not a fan of the new Snow White.
Garbage.
I would like, it's only in theaters right now, so I don't feel like that's something I want to pay to go see, even with like my daughter. But when it comes to Disney, as soon as it comes out on Disney Plus, because I already paid for that, I will watch it and then I will fully report back, because it's not something that intrigues me to watch even right now.
So okay, you have a 16. I have a 16 or 15-year-old.
Yeah.
A snuff film or Snow White? Which would you rather them watch?
I can't speak for you on that.
If you had a young kid and there's a
Snow White.
Okay.
Snow White. Yeah.
So it wins against a snuff film. So Snow White versus Lion King. Which one would you pick?
Lion King.
100%.
Yeah.
Severance versus Snow White.
For my 16-year-old?
Yeah.
16-year-old Severance. Yeah.
Okay. There's data in that.
But I haven't seen it.
The only thing it lost you was like the snuff film. The only thing.
Yeah, just because I don't want to be saying, hey, 16-year-old, go watch Cinemax or whatever after dark. So I don't even, is Cinemax After Dark still a thing? It used to be.
Yeah.
Like, that was some of my best childhood memories were Cinemax.
Dude, I was HBO After Dark.
Yeah.
You were Cinemax After Dark. We had a different experience. You had penetration.
My God. Let's end it on that note. So April Fool's Day, everybody. Happy April Fool's. We will we'll get back to more sports next week, but that was good. That was good stuff. So for Joe, I'm Justin. Everybody enjoy your day. And by the way, April Fool's Day, unless you're a kid, totally overrated.
Totally.
Okay. So for Joe, I'm Justin. BJ in the back. I think BJ's been back, but anyway, he does a lot of our great stuff behind the scenes. Make sure to follow Youngstown Studio 330 Sports Show on social media, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your